Hello everyone and welcome back once again. This is Big Red coming to you with another EDH deck tech. Today we're going to be looking at Krenko Mob Boss. He is one of the first commanders I ever built. Pretty simple, pretty cheap, and especially if you want to do with a token strategy and just want to stay solid colors, this guy is a pretty good start. He has the ability to tap, put X 1/1 red goblin creature tokens onto the battlefield, where X is the number of goblins you control. So each turn you're going to be doubling the number of goblins you control. He's really good for just one color builds. Real simple to build, and today I'm going to show you my personal build. First, we're going to start off with our lands. I run 32 lands, 29 of them, which are basics. And you can always pretty these out and everything. It's pretty simple. Just run a bunch of basic lands. And for our non-basic lands, we're looking at Valakut, the Molten Pinnacle. Enters the battlefield tapped whenever a mountain enters the battlefield under your control. If you have at least 5 other mountains, you may have a Valakut deal 3 damage to target creature or player. We got several mountains in our deck. This is really good for just spot removal. We're doing that little extra bit of damage that you needed in a turn. We're running a Mutavault. Taps for colorless, or you can pay 1 and it becomes a 2/2 creature with all creature types. This is really good, especially if we want to get an extra goblin out to activate Krenko's ability. That's what it's in there for, just get us an extra creature. Then we're running Reliquary Tower. Nowadays you have so many decks that lets everyone draw so many cards, and we don't like to discard. So we run Reliquary Tower instead, and this is going to give us no maximum hand size, which is really good. We're going to move on to enchantments. We run 10 enchantments. Our first one is Breath of Fury. It's a 4-drop enchant creature you control. Whenever enchanted creature deals damage to a player, sacrifice it and attach Breath of Fury to a creature you control. If you do, untap all creatures you control. After this, there's an additional combat phase. With this, you can do a turn 3 kill. On as many players you're playing with. If you're playing with 2, 3, 5, so on and so forth. As long as your opponents don't have a blocker with this guy, you can do infinite combats, and I'll show you a little bit more about that later. We'll set that off to the side, and I'll show you what I mean. Then we have Quest for the Goblin Lord. It's a nice little 1-drop in this commander deck, especially if you get it out early. Whenever a goblin enters the battlefield under your control, you may put a quest counter on it. As long as it has 5 or more quest counters, creatures you control get 2/0, and especially with a token build, that's going to give our tokens a nice little buff that we need. Then we have Blood Moon. This is to slow down our multicolor decks. These decks that absolutely need all these colors and they run dual lands. We're running solid mountains, and our non-basics will be mountains as well, which that's fine. We're perfectly fine with that because red's what we need. So that's why we run Blood Moon, just a little slow down. Then we have Fairer. I think that's how you pronounce it. Creatures you control have haste. This is really nice on turn 3, because on turn 4 we can get Krenko out and immediately start tapping him to get those effects. And just being able to swing out as soon as possible is really nice. Bogart Shenanigans is a 3-drop enchantment goblin enchantment. It's a tribal. Keep that in mind. That'll come up later. Whenever another goblin you control is put into a graveyard from play, you may have Bogart deal 1 damage to target player. Now, you may think, this may not be that great because of tokens, but actually it does work on tokens. Goblin tokens do enter the graveyard and then they fizzle, so you'll still get the triggers off this. So if someone field wipes you later on, this right here is kind of a punishment to them, and it really is nice against field wipe strategies like that. Let you do as much damage as possible, so that's why that's in here. Then we have Mana Barb. This one's okay. We run it in here just like a little punishment for those that want to tap out all their lands. We don't really tap out that much, so this doesn't hurt us as bad, but it still does a little bit. But we're a aggro deck. We're wanting to do as much damage as possible, as quick as possible, and that's why this is in here. Whenever a player taps a land for mana, this does 1 damage to that player. It's just in there to kind of slow people down, give people another target other than us. Even though this kind of does make us a target, but it's not that bad of a card. It's in here just for fun, kicks and giggles. Impact Tremors is really good in here. Krenko Mob Boss is going to be tapping for goblins. We're going to be getting tons and tons of goblin entry triggers in here, so that's why Impact Tremors is in here. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, Impact Tremors deals 1 damage to each opponent. This is really nice if you're in a multiplayer pod. You're not targeting anyone. Everyone's getting the same amount of damage except for you, of course. And that's why Impact Tremors is in here. It's really good. Price of Glory. We're not an instant speed deck. We don't run a lot of instant speed stuff. And this right here is mainly for our opponents. Whenever a player taps a land for mana during another player's turn, destroy that land. It's a kind of a punishment thing. Like, hey, you want to do stuff on my turn? That's fine. You're going to spend your lands to do it, and you're going to sack them. That's what this is there for. We don't like them instant speed field wipes. We don't like instant speed removals, especially whenever someone's doing stuff on our turn. It's just rude. And that's what this is there for. It's there to just basically make sure everyone minds their manners. Shard Animosity is a 3-drop enchantment. Whenever a creature you control attacks, it gets 1/0 until the end turn for each other attacking creature. There's a creature type with this. In short, this is a coat of arms just for your stuff. I like running coat of arms, and I do run a coat of arms in this deck, but when you're playing up against other tribal decks, coat of arms can hurt in the long run, where this right here just gives my stuff the +1/0 for each creature attacking that shares a type with it. And that is really nice. And there's other strategies I have in this deck that goes along with this. But this right here can be a game winner. It can be a game changer. And for 3 mana, that's not bad. Goblin Bombardment is a 2-drop enchantment. I can sacrifice a creature, keep my any creature, and this will do 1 damage to target creature player. This is a game winner. If I have a lot of tokens out there on the field, I can swing out at one person and then just start stacking goblins to do damage to other people. Or if someone's swinging in with a big lifelinker, I can block, sacrifice the goblin that way to prevent them from life, but also prevent me from the loss of life. This right here is a win combination in my deck. It's just really nice to have, and the option is really nice, and that's why I run it. Alright, moving on, let's look at our instances. We don't run that many, we only run 3 instances in our deck. Like I said, we're not an instant deck. Battle Hymn is one of them, and Brightstone Ritual is another one. Both of these are good mana sources. Brightstone Ritual is a 1-drop that adds 1 red mana to your mana pool for each goblin in play. See if we can get a little focus on that. There we go. It's just letting us little 1-drop, especially early game when we want to cast our whole hand and we want to dump everything on the field. This is really nice. Tab Krenko, get a bunch of goblins, get a lot of red, and just do all kinds of shenanigans, which is nice. Same thing with Battle Hymn. It just gives us another mana source in our deck. This one gives you a red mana for each creature you control. So when I don't run all goblins, but this is nice because I get a red mana for each one. And especially if you get them to stack, you know, you get a lot of mana that way. And then we run Trumpet's Blast. Attacking creatures get 2/0 until the end of turn. We run this just for whenever we want to get in there. We want to get as much damage as we can. We want to go for the throat, get the win really easy. And that's our other instant spell. That's all of our instances. Let's take a look at our sorceries now. Sorcery is pretty straightforward. Dragon Fodder, get 2 1/1 goblins. This is just to help us speed up our Krenko, get more for our money. We have Goblin Warstrike. 1 mana, Goblin Warstrike does damage equal to the number of goblins you control to a player. This is another win condition, especially if we want to attack all over here, and this guy over here's got a lot of blockers. This right here is just a nice little 1-drop shot, which is really great in this deck. This is one of the best burn spells you'll ever have in a Goblin deck. Mob Justice is kind of like our Goblin Warstrike, except for it deals 1 damage to target player for each creature you control. This is really nice. It's just basically another Goblin Warstrike. Having 2 cards in the deck is basically a 2 out of 100% chance of drawing them, which is a lot better than 1. We're just increasing our odds. Roar the Crowd. Choose a creature type. Roar the Crowd does damage to target creature or player equal to the number of permanents you control of the chosen type. This is kind of like our Mob Justice and our Goblin Warstrike, just as a 4-drop. And this is going to give us another percentage to get that out there. It's a really nice win percentage. I love how in the background you have like a bunch of people attacking. That's nice. Relentless Assault 4-drop, untap all creatures that attack this turn. You get another combat phase followed by another main phase this turn. This is really nice, but I'll probably replace this one. There's a enchantment that you can pay 5 mana and you untap all of your creatures and you get another combat phase. And with Krenko and some of the other goblins, you can sack goblins to get mana, tap Krenko to get goblins, and you get infinite combat phases, and that'll be what replaces this later on. Okay, let's take a look at our artifacts. We are running 10 artifacts. Our first one is Altar of Dementia. It's a 2-drop. I can sacrifice a creature. Target player puts a number of cards equal to the sacrificed creature's power from the top of his or her library into his or her graveyard. This is absolutely wonderful, especially with Coat of Arms. You've got tons of goblins. Your goblins are huge, and you're able to sack your goblins. This right here basically gives us another win condition. If we can't swing out, maybe someone's running clouds and everything, we have to pay 2 for each goblin, and then you have to pay 4 and 6 and all this mana. This right here gives us a mill win condition to sacrifice your goblins and just straight mill them out. This is absolutely wonderful for those, and it gives us a sack outlet for other win conditions. Speaking of other win conditions, Thornbite Staff. Thornbite Staff is a must when you're dealing with Krenko Mob Boss. It is a 2-drop with equipped creature has pay 2. This creature deals 1 damage to target creature or player. Whenever a creature is put into a graveyard from play, untap this. Whenever a shaman creature comes into play, you may attach Thornbite Staff to it. A lot of people forget about the second ability because the first ability is what we're really there for. It has equip cost of 4. What you want to do is you get this out on the field, you equip it to Krenko, tap Krenko, get goblins, and you can use stuff like Altar of Dementia, for instance. Let's say you get 2 goblins. You sacrifice 1 goblin, make them mill 1. You untap. You still have 1 of your tokens. Tap, get 2 more goblins, sack, make you mill 1, and it's infinite as long as you have this on the field. You can also deal with one of the other cards that I had where you could sacrifice a goblin, and let's see if I can find it real quick. It's here somewhere, guys. Okay, here we are. With this one right here, Goblin Bombardment, sacrifice a creature, Goblin does 1 damage. Same thing, once we have Krenko out, this right here is an infinite combo. Tap Krenko, get Goblin, shoot someone for 1. Untap Krenko because of the ability. Tap Krenko, get Goblin, shoot someone for 1. And you can keep on doing that, and that's really nice. So that gives us multiple win conditions just with Thornbite Staff by itself. There's several ways to win just with this one, and Krenko's always going to be your commander. So you just need this card and any other creature. And that's going to give you a lot of goblins. Chroma's Memorial. This is a little high for our range that we're going to, but once we have it out, it's golden. Creatures you control have flying, first strike, vigilance, trample, haste, and protection from black and from red. We're mainly doing this for the flying and for the haste ability. Trample, most of our creatures are pretty small unless we have other stuff. Vigilance is nice. And the haste is really nice. This isn't as hard to get out as you would think, but you have those moments. But Chroma's Memorial is just great by itself. You should run them anyway. We run 1 elixir. We do run into a lot of field wipes, and we want to refresh our hand and refresh our library. And this is going to gain us a little bit of life and get all that stuff back into our deck. But like I said, Goblins is kind of like a one-shot and done. You go in there, go for the throat. This is just a way to keep our deck fresh. That way if we need to restock it. Urzo's Incubator is a 3-drop artifact. Whenever it comes into play, choose a creature type, which is goblins. Creature spells of the chosen type cost 2 less. This right here is going to make our Krenko Mob Boss cost 2. This is going to make all of our goblins cost 1 less or 2 less, which is absolutely wonderful. That means we're going to be paying 1 mana for most of the goblins in this deck. This is a wonderful card. It used to be fairly cheap until the commander sets came out, where most of them were tribal, and then these guys shot up for about $20 a piece. I was lucky to get 4 for 20, so I got really lucky on that. Glasses of Urza is a 1-drop artifact. You may tap it to look at opponent's hand. The reason I run this is because you never know what your opponent has, what kind of tricks you have, and this right here just kind of gives you a little sight into that. Can I go for the throat this time? Does he have a fog? Because you don't want to leave yourself completely opened and just lose the next turn just because of a misplay like that. And this right here gives us that little reassurance that we can do what we need to do. Skull Clamp. This is another combination with the staff. If you've got mana or just a mana source that you can get to, it's a 1-drop, equip 1, a creature gets just +1/-1. Most of our goblins are going to be 1/1s, so this will make them 2 zeros, which will kill them whenever the creature dies. You get to draw 2 cards, which will untap your goblin. This is our land, or this is our draw effect. This is going to draw us a lot of cards when we're short on hand, and this guy right here, he really does work in this. Lightning Greaves, 2-drop. Simple, 0, has haste and shroud. Get this guy on the field, get Krenko equipped to him. You can start tapping him immediately. This is just a hasty thing. It's in most of your EDH decks nowadays, and it's lovely to have. Then we also have Coat of Arms. That's what I was telling you earlier. Each creature gets 1/1 for each other creature on the battlefield that shares at least one creature type with it. With goblins, it's real easy. By the time you know it, you got 20 goblins. Really nice unless you're up against another tribal deck. And then Soul Ring. This is kind of like our little signets or whatever. This is just to get a little ramp, especially if we can get it early. The sooner we can get Krenko out, the better. And that's what Soul Ring's in there for. Plus, I mean, any ramp is good in any deck. Now we're going to look at our creatures. We're running 40 creatures. This is a very heavy creature deck, which Krenko usually is. We're going to look at some of our lords first. Other people may not consider this a lord. I do, because you can tap him, sacrifice a goblin. All goblins you control get +2/0. This guy's giving them +2/0, which is absolutely wonderful, which sometimes can be that little extra lethal damage that you need. Goblin Chieftain. Haste. Other goblin creatures you control get 1/1 in haste. It's a really nice buff, really simple. Goblin War Chief. Goblin spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Excuse me. And goblin creatures you control have haste. I really like the haste ability and the -1. This is getting our Krenko Mob Boss out sooner. That's what this deck wants to do. It wants to get Krenko out as fast as possible, and it wants to start making tokens. Hellraiser Goblin. This is another one that most people won't consider just being a lord, but I want the haste, and that's what this guy's going to do. The attack each combat if able kind of is a negative thing, but this deck, that's what you want to do with goblins. Goblins don't think, goblins just go. That's what goblins do. Goblin General. Whenever Goblin General attacks, goblins you control get 1/1 until the end of turn. He's a 3-drop for a 1/1. It gives you that little extra buff. That's why he's nice. Then we have Adaptive Automaton. It is a 3-drop 2/2. Whenever it enters the battlefield, you choose a creature type. Automaton is the chosen type, in addition to other types. And other creatures you control of the chosen type get a +1/1. This guy right here, he's pretty much just a little general, giving everyone a little buff. He's nice in most tribals. Goblin King. All goblins get +1/1 and gain Mountain Walk. That Mountain Walk is really nice, especially nowadays where you're dealing with so many multicolor decks. Most of them usually are going to have red and some kind of mountain source, usually with shock lands, fetch lands, so on and so forth. And that's why he's really nice to have around. Then we have Orc Bile Driver. He's not really a goblin leader, but the ability to give my stuff +2/0 and haste when they enter is really nice and lets you get in there for some really heavy damage. And he's foil. That's what makes him pretty. Alright, now we're moving on to Goblin Lackey. A good friend of mine gave me this. It's a 1-drop 1/1. Whenever it successfully deals damage to a player, you may choose a goblin card in your hand and put that goblin into play. This right here is really nice, especially if you can put an equipment on it that lets him tap to deal 1 point of damage, because it doesn't have to be combat damage. It just says whenever it successfully deals damage to a player, and that's going to let you put a goblin into play for free. Now that artifact that I'm talking about isn't in this deck. It probably needs to be in this deck just for stuff like that, which is really nice, especially early game, turn 1. Then we have Warren Instigator, which is a double strike, which does the same thing as Goblin Lackey. Whenever he deals damage, you put a goblin in play. So with double strike, when you swing, you're going to get to put 2 goblins into play instead of 1. Or if you put an artifact on there that lets you tap to deal 1 point of damage, then that'll get you a goblin. Goblin Ringleader. This is one of our combo pieces. He has haste. Whenever it comes into play, reveal the top 4 cards of your library. Put all goblin cards revealed this way into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library. The reason he's one of our combo pieces is he lets us go get Lightning Crafter and Kiki Jiki, which is one of our combos. If you haven't heard about it, I'll tell you in just a second. Lightning Crafter, whenever he has champion, a goblin, or shaman, tap him to deal 3 points of damage. The combo with this is he enters, exile any goblin that you control. Then you need Kiki Jiki on the field. You tap Kiki Jiki, put a token that's a copy of target non-legendary creature. He is not legendary. Onto the battlefield. It has haste. At the end of turn, you sack it. So you tap it, make a copy of the Lightning Crafter. Lightning Crafter comes in, you exile Kiki Jiki with it. Then you tap Lightning Crafter, shoot something for 3, and then you'll have a sack outlet. Usually I have Skirt, Prospector, or one of my other things. You sack the copy of Lightning Crafter. Kiki Jiki comes back in, you tap him, and you make infinite copies of Lightning Crafter, and you deal infinite damage. You can wipe the board however you see fit. Skirt Prospector has the ability to sacrifice a goblin, add 1 remaining mana pool. This is really nice as a sack outlet for Kiki Jiki to untap, but also if we're running a little short on mana, keep in mind we only run 32 lands, so this guy right here can come in pretty good handy just to get that mana ramp going. Goblin Matron. He's really good to go get Goblin Recruiter. You basically get to tutor for a goblin with your Goblin Matron. You can go any goblin, put it in your hand. Usually you want to go get Goblin Recruiter, and he lets you set up your deck as any number of goblins on the top of your library in any order. Well, that's why you use Goblin Ringleader. He lets you reveal the top 4. So you put him on top, play him, then you reveal your Lightning Crafter, your Kiki Jiki, and one of your little sack outlets. Like this, you get them all in hand. That way it decreases the chances that you will get milled, and that's why we run them. Kiki Jiki, just a wonderful card. We already know what he does. Make a copy of something. Then we have Reckless Bushwhacker. It's a 3-drop haste. Whenever it enters the battlefield, if it has surge cost was paid, all your creatures get +1/1 in haste. Reckless One is a 4-drop with haste. Star, his power and tough is equal to the number of goblins you control. This is another sack outlet for us. Goblin Sledder is a 1-drop 1/1. You can sacrifice a goblin. Target creature gets 1/1 in a turn. Now keep in mind, target creature. It can be a different creature other than Goblin Sledder. So if you're swinging all out and you need to get all the damage in, sacrifice the ones that are being blocked, and that way you get that little extra damage in. Goblin War Driver. Has 2/2 with Battle Cry, so that's going to give all my goblins an extra +1/0 whenever they attack with him. Goblin Rabblemaster. This is the combo piece to this enchantment I was telling you about. You use turn 1 Soul Ring, turn 2 you play Goblin Rabblemaster, you get the token, swing in with the token. Turn 3 you enchant Breath of Fury on one of the tokens, swing in, then you'll deal your damage, you sacrifice the token, move this to the other token, untap, he's going to give you another token at the beginning of combat, swing, and you just keep sacking and move it to the tokens. He'll give you infinite tokens, which gives you where you need to be for that infinite turn 3 combo. Goblin Pile Driver. Protection from blue whenever it attacks, it gets 2/0 until then turn for each attacking goblin. Nice little 2-drop. Perfros is a wonderful 4-drop 6/5 enchantment. We never really want him to be active. We're just wanting him for that second ability that he has. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses or takes 2 damage, which is really nice because they're going to be taking a ton of damage. Now, a lot of people want to put him as your commander, which that's nice. And in some commander decks, he's wonderful. But in this one, I want him to be in the deck. Krenko Krenko, Mob Boss, is the one. I want him to do the work, but he's really nice to be in there. This is another sack outlet that we have. You can pay 0, sacrifice a goblin to regenerate target creature. This right here, just nice to have if a field wipe comes along. You can at least save half your stuff. Ember Hauler. It's a 2-drop for 2/2. You can pay 1, sack it, and deal 2 damage to target creature player. If you need to do that extra 2 points of damage, he's wonderful. Or just remove that little aggravating card that your opponent has. That's why he's in there. Foundry Street Denizen, 1-drop for 1/1 that gets +1/0 for each red creature that enters the battlefield under this turn. He's really nice with Krenko because he's going to get really big. Goblin Bushwhacker, 1-drop for a 1/1 with kicker. If you kick it, all of your goblins get +1/0 and haste until end turn. Chancellor of the Forge, the reason he's in here is because if he's in your opening hand, you get a free 1/1, and late game, you can pay 7 and double your goblins again, so it just basically gives us an extra Krenko Mob Boss trigger. Goblin Sharpshooter, this guy's really good against Elf or others token decks. He doesn't untap during your untap step, but whenever a creature dies, you can untap him. Pay 1, shoot something for 1, or shoot a player for 1. So if they got a lot of little 1/1 tokens, basically tap him and just keep killing everything they got. That's what he's good for. Or he can kill your own goblins to get the Krenko triggers. Siege Gang Commander, 5-drop. Whenever he enters, put 3 1/1 goblins in control. You can pay 2, sacrifice a goblin, and this creature deals 2 damage to our creature player. Hell Rider is really nice, especially whenever we have a ton of goblins. Swing with your team, and they take 1 point to the defending player for each creature you control that's attacking, which is really nice. Just a little hasty goblin, Raging Goblin, 1/1 with haste. Goblin Arsonist, whenever he dies, he deals 1 damage to a creature player. Just a nice little 1/1. This guy is nice. He's a 3-drop 2/1 with Cycle. This Cycle is really what we want. It's just basically a nice little removal spell for us. And it deals, whenever you cycle him, he deals X damage to target creature or X number of goblins you control. So, he's nice. Legion Loyalist, 1-drop 1/1 with haste with Battalion. Whenever he attacks with 2 other creatures, creature you control get first strike, trample, and can be blocked by tokens. That's really nice because your tokens can be blocked by tokens. Mog Sentry, a little 1-drop 1/1. Whenever an opponent plays a spell, he gets bigger with 2/2 until end turn for each spell he casts. Goblin Guide, my little foil Goblin Guide. 1-drop 2/2 with haste, swing. This one right here usually gets to live because everyone wants to try for that land. Now we're going to our creatures that are not goblins. We have Click Slither. Haste, sacrifice a goblin. He gets +2/2 until end turn. This is another sack outlet for our Kiki combo. And not only that, he gets really, really big just by keep sacking goblins. So if you're able to get a swing in with them, sacrifice your goblins, go for lethal. And Voracious Dragon, I think that's how you pronounce it. 5-drop for 4/4 with Flying Devour 1. Whenever it comes into play, it deals damage to target creature player equal to twice the number of goblins it devoured. This right here is a win condition late game. Play him, get in there, sacrifice your goblins, deal lots of damage to a player. And that's all we have for you guys. Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned with us, and I'll be back sometime with more deck techs coming to you, maybe some box openings. Thank you all for watching. This is Big Red, and I'll see you next time.